Good morning, Packers fans, and welcome back to another episode of Pancakes and Packers Morning Show. And the draft is in. So the first round took place, and, a little bit unexpected, but at the same time, it's a very much a Packers draft pick, with the Packers taking Arizona offensive tackle Jordan Morgan with the 25th overall pick. The surprise of it all was the way that the board fell before them. And that's going to be our coffee today. Oh, yeah. If you thought we were going to take Cooper DeJean with pick 25, false. So the way the board fell, we ended up with the top three, like really all of the top defensive backs falling all the way until around the 20th pick, until Quinyon Mitchell went off the board. And that was the surprising part to me. I really thought Brian Gutekunst would have been interested in going up and attacking at that position, a position of, perceived need, at least on the outside to, fans and to media. But instead, he opted to stick back and take Jordan Morgan. And got a clip here from ESPN that we'll see in just a second. And it's interesting. Most people think of Jordan Morgan as, projecting to be a guard rather than a tackle based on his size and everything else. But Bill Belichick on the ESPN broadcast had a slightly different take on that. So let's hear what Bill had to say here.
Smart play by Gutekunst.
Protect Jordan Love. Right, so but he's a left tackle all the way. He tore his ACL and then came back and played his senior year at Arizona last year. Jordan is really a high-quality kid, very smart, good pass protector, very athletic, and he'll be he's a good football player. He's a left tackle, and so I don't think there's any doubt about that. And he just needs to get a little bit stronger in the lower body, but this is a good football player. He's got a good future.
A left tackle, and I don't think there's any doubt about that, he says. And that's the part that's a little bit surprising to me, is the fact that everybody, even Dane Brugler from The Athletic, in his beast that he put out, he had Jordan Morgan as the second overall guard in his listing. Didn't even have him as a tackle in the beast profile. Really widely viewed as a better guard prospect. And, that's still very much a possibility and almost a likelihood for the Packers. But the fact that somebody like Bill Belichick, who knows more about football than, or has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, let's put it that way, is so adamant and vehement about the fact that, Jordan Morgan is a left tackle, and that could be what the Packers want to do with him. And that would be better value in the first round than if they took him as a guard, especially when one of the Packers' favorites, at least among the draft nicks out there and everything, was Graham Barton. And he was still on the table as well. Top tier athlete at both the guard and tackle position was Graham Barton. And we went with Jordan Morgan instead. So, really interested to look at Jordan Morgan a bit more. It says here that he's 6'5", 311. He's 22 3/4 years old, so he'll turn 23 in August, just before the season kicks off. Let's take a look at his RAS score here. A 9.0. This is a little bit outdated. We didn't have agilities on him, but overall, good size, elite speed skills, and good explosion. But, just long-time player at Arizona. Most recently, as you heard him talk about in the Belichick comment, had an ACL tear, in 2022, actually planned on coming out of the draft last year, but because of that ACL injury, opted to go back for his senior year, which really he's been there since 2019, where he only played in 6 games, started 2 of those, and then obviously had the pandemic shortened season where he started 2 of 2 games in 2020, and then started every game that he played in in 2021, 2022, and 2023. He had 11 and 21, 10 and 22. So he played most of that 22 season before he tore his ACL, and then finished this past season first team All Pac-12 honors, team captain, and he opted out of the bowl game, but he played 12 out of 12 games for them there. We did see at his pro day that he did put up 27 reps, so he's got pretty good upper body strength, but still could use to add a little bit more lower body strength, as Bill Belichick talked about a little bit as well. It says that he's a natural knee bender and stays balanced in his pass sets, NFL quality feet, body control, and size and length, fast eyes to comfortably pass off and pick up rushers. So a lot of good things to hear about the offensive line prospect that the Packers just picked up. Some of his weaknesses that Dane Brugler had were he gets caught drifting outside a little bit, which creates soft inside shoulders for like hooking penalties as he's trying to hold. Hands are adequately timed, but not always forceful to knock away long arm or power-based moves by rushers, and can be jostled in the run game by side angle blocks. Overall, 4-year starter at Arizona. Morgan was a constant at the left tackle position in offensive coordinator Brennan Carroll's zone-based scheme, which similar scheme to what the Packers run, and really is an ideal offensive line candidate for any of the Shanahan-based offenses, which I think is why the Packers opted to go with him rather than seeing if he would have fallen later and been potentially available for them later. Because one of the things, and I think I had him mocked to the 49ers as the spot that they would have taken him because of the fact that he fits in and he is a consistent, steady, reliable offensive lineman for that kind of scheme. So that's Jordan Morgan, just like a really quick overview of what we got in the first round. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. I'm sure a lot of us were at least taken aback a little bit by the pick, especially given that everything fell into our lap the way that it did. We'll talk a little bit quick too about some of the moves that the rest of the NFC North made. So overall, the NFC North, I think, for the most part, acquitted itself pretty nicely. Obviously, the Bears had the first overall pick and took Caleb Williams, followed that up with the 9th pick and took Rome Odunze. So their offense got a whole lot scarier. And for a team that was predicated mostly on their defense winning them games last year, they're definitely going to be, I won't say a force, but they're going to cause some problems for some people this coming year if they can just, protect Caleb Williams, bring him along steadily. But I mean, they did all the right things that they needed to do to take care of Caleb Williams so far by, bringing in, really over the last couple of years, they brought in DJ Moore, then they traded for Keenan Allen this offseason. Now drafting Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet's a solid tight end. Your mileage may vary on their running back situation with DeAndre Swift, but their offense is definitely in a better position now than it was a year ago when everybody was saying that, we finally got Fields' weapon so we can actually assess if Justin Fields is going to be the guy. And it still didn't end up working out that way for Justin Fields. But the Bears definitely got better on the first day of this draft. The Lions traded up from 27 to 24 with Dallas to leapfrog the Packers, who I'm assuming thought that might be interested in taking Tyrion Arnold, who was the latter of the top 2 corners that ended up going. Quinyon Mitchell, I believe, went, was it 20 to the Steelers? I don't recall exactly off the top of my head. But after he went, no, it wasn't 20, it was 22, to the Eagles. So after Quinyon Mitchell went off the board, Tyrion Arnold was the next top defensive back, and he fell to 24, where the Lions felt the need to go up and leapfrog the Packers to make sure that we didn't take him off the board. So with that, they ended up giving up the 73rd overall pick this year and ended up picking up a 2025 seventh round in exchange with that as well to move up. Was that 5 spots from 29 to 24? So, overall good move for them. Definite position of need for the Lions was cornerback. I don't love to see good players go within the division, obviously, and the top team in the conference, or not conference, in the division last year got better with this pickup here. So I'm sure the faithful in Detroit were thrilled with this pick, especially seeing that they swooped in and snuck him away from the Packers potentially with that pick. The Vikings, on the other hand, made a lot of moves, but I'm personally not a big fan of them. So they ended up trading up twice in this, and that's not before, that's after all of the trading that they did leading up to the draft to put them in position to take a quarterback to try to move up. They weren't able to move up to get Drake May. I don't know if that was their intent or not all along, but they ended up waiting it out on the quarterback run, as we saw, a historic number of quarterbacks go in the top 10, really in the top 11, or top 12, I think it was. But they ended up moving up to 10 to make sure that neither the Raiders or the Broncos would leapfrog them to take J.J. McCarthy. So they ended up giving up more draft capital to move up, which I didn't think was a bad move, because if you consider the alternative of giving up the 23rd pick, what? You just had a milkshake. Pardon me. In a second, go get it. Go get a snack and bring it up here.
No, you.
But if you consider the alternative of giving up the 23rd pick with the 11th pick to move into, 5 or whatever it was, and then still taking JJ McCarthy, what they gave up to move from 11 to 10 is, pretty marginal. But you add to that the fact that then later on they moved from 23, which they already gave up capital to get to 23 from, I think it was 40 and somewhere in the early 40s for the Vikings, to move up to 23, to then move up to 17 to, get a good player in Dallas Turner as the edge rusher. They got better with those picks, but the value that they got out of making the moves could be better for sure. Not a process that I particularly loved out of them with those moves. But at this point, let's go ahead and take a look at who's still available as I go ahead and pull up the PFF mock draft simulator, which is still wonderful. And I'm not doing a mock with it, but it does show the real life who is actually taken in those spots as it goes along. You might have to refresh it here and there, but you see, over here we've got everybody who is taken. The big name that's obviously there for the Packers still is Cooper DeJean. And Cooper DeJean is definitely somebody I think the Packers would want to target early on day 2, maybe even move up to go get, because you look at some of these other teams. So Buffalo is almost certainly thinking wide receiver. They really need one. I would think the Vikings are probably thinking tackle to help protect Drake May, since they took him early in the draft. I wasn't sure if they ended up moving up and getting another pick. I couldn't recall, but they didn't. So I'm thinking tackle is probably where they're looking. But you see some of the potential needs. The Cardinals could use a cornerback. Washington could use a cornerback. Really, all of these guys from 35 down to 39. So what's that? 5 picks that could potentially be in the market for a cornerback or defensive back. And Cooper DeJean is clearly that top guy left. Some people might have Kool-Aid McKinstry in the conversation, especially if you view DeJean only as a safety, rather. Hush. Hey, be quiet. You're being too loud. Watch your tablet. But if you view Cooper DeJean only as a safety, then maybe you've got Kool-Aid in there. But still, that's 5 picks for 2 guys that are all ahead of the Packers. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they tried to make a move with like the Cardinals or with even if the Patriots are willing to make a move like that, maybe move up to get either a Cooper DeJean or a Kool-Aid McKinstry if that's where their eyes are looking. Obviously, other positions, Jerzon Newton was largely viewed as a first-round grade for a lot of people, slightly undersized, 6'2", 295, but a lot of people, they don't want to find the next. I mean, they do want to find the next Aaron Donald, but they don't want to pull the trigger on a guy that his ceiling could be that he's the next Aaron Donald, but the likelihood of that occurring is definitely slim. But you got some options up here. Peyton Wilson, the linebacker, that is going to be somewhere in the first half of the second round, I would imagine. Same probably with where is he? A little bit further down here on PFF's grades, they dropped him a bit, was Edrin Cooper. But you see a lot of interior offensive linemen on here as well. A few edges, some of the safeties. TJ Tampa's another defensive back that would be potentially interesting. Javon Bullard is my other guy that if they decide to sit and pick at 41, I think he is very likely to be their pick at 41 as we come up here. And then they would probably look at linebacker with pick 58. But a lot of really good options. And Gutekunst he's got the freedom to move around and do what he sees fit to make this team maximally better with these draft picks. And I have full faith and confidence that he's going to do so. I didn't love that the pick we went with was Jordan Morgan in the first, but I completely understood it. And I absolutely think, he's ultimately going to be a very good Packer, but compared to some of, our draft crushes, which we're all guilty of having, no matter what you say, I definitely would have preferred to go to the defensive back route. Also on that offensive line, if you do view him as a guard, Kingsley Suamataia, my guy here, is still on the board. Patrick Paul's another name that's been thrown up there a little bit as a tackle prospect, and Kieran Amagaji, who the Packers did have in for a top 30 visit, or just a 30 visit rather. I guess it's not actually called top 30. But some definite options early in the second round for the Packers. If you're watching live, go ahead and let me know, who do you want the Packers to pick, or do you want them to move up to get a guy, or just sit and pick, because there are a lot of options still available for the Packers at the top of this draft. Let me know, and I'll be back. I'll try to get a quick live stream in after the Packers make their picks tonight, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning for another recap of the second day of what the Packers do, where we do have 4 picks, 41, 58, 88, and 91 in the second and third rounds. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have those 4 picks, but the potential going in that we've got 4 picks to work with, the Packers are definitely going to get some good value on day 2 of this draft. Let me know in the comments or in the chat what you guys want to do on day 2, and we'll see what actually comes to fruition for the Packers. And we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, and